Hello, thank you very much for deciding to watch this video, and thank you to the RiME conference organizers. I have been teaching music for 20 years. I have always considered it a privilege to have a career in music, and particularly in teaching, allowing my students to discover music, the beauty, the mystery, the pleasure of music. However, I am finding music even more fascinating since I became in touch with music therapy. I have discovered that music has an even greater value when realizing the many ways in which it can help people, improving their quality of life, their health, and well being when it is used in medical, educational, or other contexts. I experimented the multiple benefits of group music therapy myself, not too long ago, during my training process as a music therapist, in the master's degree program led by the co-author of this paper, Maria Jesus del Olmo. A significant part of the program consisted in self-experience. We engaged in free music improvisation. We improvised with the voice and all sorts of musical instruments in group sessions with the rest of the soon-to-become music therapists. The process allowed us to enjoy other ways of making music without the support of music notation, avoiding any sort of judgments or concerns related to instrumental technique. Yes, those judgments and sometimes obsessive concerns that are unfortunately extremely present in the lives of musicians, sometimes hindering enjoyment and professional development. For many of us, taking part in that group music therapy process as part of training restored or intensified the joy and pleasure of making music. Through free music improvisation, we learned about each other and we gained insight on ourselves. So, if it helped me, if it helped us music therapy students, to what extent can improvisational music therapy, to what extent can free music improvisation help musicians? The first question could be, are musicians really in need of help? Well, it's quite a paradox. Music has enormous benefits, but a career in music seems to have its risks. Despite music's health benefits, musicians are among the professionals with higher risks of mental health issues. Research shows that having a career in music can triple the chances of suffering from depression. Risks for psychological well-being can be greater for classical musicians in comparison to specialists in other musical styles. Some of the greatest issues that can affect musical health and well-being are stage performance anxiety, stress and work overload, physical injuries, and musical activity can even become an addiction, musicorexia. So there seems to be a need of help, and we decided to design a program focusing on free group improvisation for this purpose. Before going into detail, let us share some significant examples of previous research related to these issues. The positive effects of music therapy as treatment in order to mitigate stage fright in musicians are shown in several studies, such as those conducted by Luis Montello, where improvisation plays a key role. Music therapy can also foster the development of creativity and can help overcome situations of emotional stress or creative blocks. Several authors point out the educational and therapeutic benefits of free music improvisation. Improvisation that can be defined as improvisation that tends to lack concrete rules and does not fit into specific harmonic, rhythmic, or formal frameworks. We can point out benefits such as helping to free and manage repressed emotions, educating in other forms of social relations that are not based on competition, empowering musicians, helping them to become more assertive and to take risks, reconnecting with the sources of music, as well as developing musical skills, listening, and performance skills, as Canadian therapist Deborah Seabrook states. So, taking all this into account, we implemented a pilot program in a conservatory in Madrid. 9 students in their last years of professional music studies, we're talking about pre-college students, voluntarily took part in this study. Participant ages ranged mainly from 17 to 20, and they had very different instrument majors. Participants attended 10 weekly 90-minute sessions from September to December 2019. All sessions followed a similar structure. We began with an informal discussion on our past week in the conservatory, our level of energy and current emotional state, reflections and comments on the previous session, etc. Then came structured activities. We mainly carried out improvisation activities where participants were given previous instructions. And then the main course, free music improvisation in the group without previous instructions. In the first phase of the program, students improvised with the body, the voice, and small percussion instruments. And only after the 6th session onwards did they start to use their main instruments. We ended the session with a long discussion where sensations and reflections on the improvisation and other aspects were shared in the group. Let us give you some examples of the structured improvisation activities that took place in the sessions before free music improvisation. In order of appearance in the program, some of these were exploring musical instruments, for example, exploring conventional and non-conventional ways of playing instruments, group music improvisation as a response to visual stimuli, a concept, or a word, improvisation of a musical story with sound effects based on our experiences in the conservatory, songwriting, composing a song for our own comfort, and music improvisation based on fragments of repertoire that was being worked on by participants in their respective instrument lessons. These all came before free group improvisation in each of the sessions. When the program ended, all participants took part in individual semi-structured interviews, which were conducted with the aim of gaining deep insight into their perceptions on the music therapy progress. These were supplemented with a short survey that participants answered anonymously, and which allowed us to observe the following results. 2 areas stand out in which all participants perceived that the program proved especially helpful: fostering relationships with fellow members of the group and increasing general enjoyment through music. Other areas where students perceived benefits with great clarity were an increase in self-knowledge and an increase in listening ability. Benefits were also perceived in areas such as an increase in motivation, an increase in well-being, greater creativity, enjoying our main instrument more, reducing anxiety, and the fact that 100% of participants stated total agreement when recommending the program to other students is proof of the high level of participant satisfaction. Interview transcription analysis allowed us to gather more detailed information on how participants perceived that the program had helped them in their development and learning. We divided the benefits of the improvisation program into the following subcategories. In the first place, the program had beneficial effects for them as individuals: intention reduction, an increased motivation towards music, as well as greater self-knowledge and an increased self-esteem. Several references to these intrapersonal areas are supported in participants' views. For example, a student says, "I have learned to accept that I may be capable of doing more things than I thought I was." Another subcategory of benefits can be considered that imply the presence of the group and a participant role as sender of messages. These are action areas. The free, creative, uninhibited expression of emotions by overcoming possible fears or insecurities, for example. A student says, overcoming embarrassment. It was like, I'm out of my comfort zone, and in the end, that wasn't there. A third subcategory corresponds to attitudes and knowledge development of the individual as receptor in relation to the environment, an enhanced listening ability, open-mindedness to other ways of thinking, and a greater awareness of fellow group members. This subcategory was referred to as reception areas. Finally, and as a result of all of the above, the bond between participants and their environment, this two-way communication, becomes stronger. The process fosters the integration of group members and facilitates a safe space to share problems and success. Participants themselves acknowledge the importance of the group as a source of help, pointing out that the reflections and discussions were fundamental elements for their own progress. Participants in our study advocate the importance of free improvisation, an activity which contrasts with the rigidness of certain traditional approaches to music education in conservatoires. Other ways of teaching and understanding music that go beyond what is stipulated, as a student says. Linked to this idea of rigidness is the obsession with accuracy, the tensions caused by the expectations of having to achieve a technically flawless performance. Some participants stress how the program's activities resulted very helpful in this sense, doing away with that fear of having to do everything perfect, not being able to make mistakes. Not using the main instrument, at least in the initial sessions of the program, allowed students to focus on the idea of expressing, communicating, reconnecting with the sources of music. It helps to get rid of many insecurities. That's freedom of starting with something. You don't know what is right or wrong, as a student says. We can conclude that music improvisation, and free improvisation in particular, should play a much greater role in a musician's training process. Given the wide-ranging benefits, students of all ages and levels should have the possibility of practicing it. Improvising in groups may enhance the benefits. Participants themselves stress the importance of the group as a source of help and support, including time for later discussion, moderated by the teacher, was perceived as a fundamental element for progress. In future studies, it would be interesting to study the effects of a long-term program, gathering the perceptions of teachers and families throughout the progress. Music therapists can play an important role in music education. Guidance departments in music conservatories could play a great role, including music therapists as well, supporting all students by designing prevention and self-development programs such as this one, showing soon-to-become professional musicians, or simply future music lovers, the benefits provided by free improvisation and the field of music therapy in general. Let's hope that with the help of research in music therapy, music psychology, and related fields, musicians will soon be among the professionals with the greatest levels of health and well-being. Thank you very much.